So the Owl House is officially over, and oh boy, a lot happened in this finale. We got the Collector's backstory, Belos' defeat, heck, even the Titan himself. There's so much stuff to talk about to the point where I can't fit it all in one video. So instead, my breakdown for this episode will be split into 3 videos. Right now, you're watching part 1. Parts 2 and 3 will be coming out in the future, or they may already be out depending on when you're watching this video. Alright, enough intro stuff, let's actually get into this episode now. So the episode seems to start right after the events of For the Future, and we see Amity, Willow, Gus, Hunter, and Camila get taken by the Collector. Luz, after watching everyone get taken, gets trapped in her nightmare from the Collector. Right before that happens, however, the Titan of the Boiling Isles then talks to Luz in her head, telling her she has to wake up. Luz then opens her eyes to find herself in the Emperor's castle wearing Belos' clothes. The title card is then shown, except this time, the eyes of the owl are glowing blue, foreshadowing Belos taking over the Titan. And already this episode is very different from what we've theorized. While yes, the Collector did put Luz, along with Ida and King, in their nightmares, it wasn't a part of his game, and what we find out later was Belos' idea. Also, it seems like the Titan has a miniature-sized hoodie in his eyes, which we'll get into in part 2. Luz then starts walking around in her nightmare with String Bean, as she is also sent into this nightmare. As Luz walks around, we see her depicted in a stained glass painting as Emperor Belos. We have also seen this painting before in the episode Agony of a Witch, except in that episode it was Belos in the painting, not Luz. As she walks outside, she looks down and sees many familiar faces petrified. We then hear Amity's voice, and she states that Luz has been the villain this whole time for helping Belos. Amity then starts to attack Luz, but Luz starts flying away with String Bean to get out of the fight. Just from this scene alone, we can already tell that Luz's nightmare is going to be about how she felt responsible for all of this, and how she's afraid of her friends hating her for helping Belos, even if she didn't know that she was. We then cut to Ida, who is trapped in the Conformatorium. As she tries to get out, she gets captured by a net and surrounded by coven guards. Lilith and Gwendolyn are overwatching this and tell Ida that dangerous beasts should be in cages. We then see Ida's dad walk out of the door with another massive scar on his face because of Ida, which we know is not true because this is a nightmare. So it seems like Ida's nightmare is her not wanting to be treated as a monster and her not wanting to hurt her dad again. One weird thing about this, however, is Lilith's hair. It seems to be dyed blue again, and I don't really know why it would be. Maybe it's because she's also afraid of her sister going after her again, as Lilith is also seen to be wearing her old clothes as well. Now we cut to King's nightmare, and we are back on Titan Trapper Island, and Bill asks King if he recognizes his brothers and sisters, and how he was next. King's nightmare is probably him being afraid of dying just like his family. We then cut back to Luz's nightmare as we see all of her friends blame everything that has happened on her. And oh my frog, everyone's voice performances for this scene were so good. I especially liked Zeno's performance. He has now officially pulled off like 3 mental breakdown scenes for Hunter. The dude is talented. After Amity says that she challenges Luz to a witch's battle, Luz is then able to realize that this wasn't the real Amity since she didn't say witch's duel. This is a direct reference to the episode Convention, where Luz challenges Amity to a witch's duel. Before Amity and everyone else can attack Luz, they stop and tell Luz what's happening. I'm assuming that they were able to stop themselves from attacking Luz as they didn't want to hurt her. They then tell Luz how to get out of the nightmare and give her the light glyph. She then uses it and gets out of the nightmare. Now, I know they say that to get out of the nightmare, Luz needs to turn on the light, aka use the light glyph, but I wouldn't be surprised if just using any glyph would have worked. We already know that Titan magic cancels out the Collector's magic, and since the glyphs use magic from the Titan, maybe it lets them get out of the nightmare by canceling it out with the glyphs. Luz then wakes up on the Rubik's Cube and sees Ida and King. She gives them both the light glyph and they all are reunited again. I was so happy when I saw this scene because I just love these 3 together. While I do like Luz's dynamic with her friends, I love these 3 so much more because they act so much like a family, and in Marcy's words, I love the found family trope. One thing I did notice, however, is that the Collector was able to get Bill and Tarek, even though they were on a completely different Titan, meaning that he was able to take over the Boiling Isles and the other Titans. He probably visited Titan Trapper Island while Luz and her friends were on Earth, since the Titan Trappers do worship him. We then see the Collector and Bellows, and the Collector complains to Bellows, who he thinks is Rain, about how the plan didn't work. Bellows then learns that King is a Titan thanks to the Collector talking about it. This is where Bellows gets the idea of taking over the Titan by going to its heart, which is in his throne room. He is then able to convince the Collector to play games with Ida, King, and Luz by manipulating him, and the way Bellows is able to manipulate the Collector is really interesting because it shows how much of a kid the Collector really is. He is able to fall for these tricks because he is a kid, even if he is like over 100 years old or something. Bellows then takes one of the Collector's platform stars, which he'll use to get to the Titan, and I'm surprised that they were just sitting in the Collector's drawer. I thought the Collector just conjured it. After the three of them catch up with each other, the Collector comes and asks King why he chooses Luz and Ida over him, and how he was just having fun. Ida and King then tell the Collector that trapping and scaring people isn't fun, and how everyone nearly died because of the Day of Unity. The Collector then responds by saying that toys break all the time and that you can just fix them. The Collector not understanding how death works for mortals makes a lot of sense because not only is the Collector a child, he is also immortal. Since he is a kid, he is very unaware of how death works, and he's never experienced it because he's immortal. This is where the Collector begins his games. We then cut to Bellows and Rain's body, and we see that the moon symbol has fallen off. I think it came off because of Bellows taking over Rain's body. We've already seen, and thanks to them, that the host can still try and take back the body, so maybe Rain was able to take back their body for a bit, causing the moon to fall off. However, Bellows is able to take back Rain's body and says that Rain has always been annoyingly powerful, which seems to be very true. Just by looking at the way Rain uses their bard magic, you can tell it's powerful just by looking at the things they've done. As Bellows flies away on the star, we see Puppet, Amity, Willow, Gus, and Hunter on the floor. We then see Amity slightly move her finger. We already know that the puppets are conscious in this state thanks to For the Future, so just like Hootie, Amity was able to move. The Collector's games have now begun, and we go through a little montage of games such as Pac-Man, some weird marble game, and Jenga. Over the course of these games, the Collector seems to be getting sadder and sadder, which Luz notices. Luz, Ida, and King go up to the Collector and talk to him, and this is where we learn the Collector's backstory. We learn that the other Collectors, or should I say the Archivists, wanted the Collector to play hide and seek with them, which was a lie, and sent him to the Boiling Isles. While there, the Collector played with all the baby Titans, but because the Archivists were afraid of their power, they took the Titans away until it was only King's dad left. King's dad thought the Collector was the bad guy, however, and hid King from him, and trapped him. Knowing now that all the Collector wanted was a friend, Luz, Ida, and King offered to show the Collector how they became friends. We then cut to Bellows and Rain, and they crash land in front of the castle. We see that Rain was able to fight off Bellows enough to completely get him out of their body, but Bellows has other plans. Once Rain realizes that Bellows is going for the heart of the Titan, they start to chase after Bellows through the castle. Even though Rain tries to block Bellows from reaching the heart by breaking their loot, I think it's a loot, Bellows is sadly still able to get onto the heart and starts corrupting the castle. We then go back to the Collector's collection room, and we see that Amity has been able to sketch out a light glyph on the floor, waking herself up. Finally, after so long, Amity is able to make a perfect circle. Everyone else also wakes up and gets freed from their puppet state. We then cut back to Ida, King, and Luz as they try to teach the Collector about friendship. My favorite moment from this part is when they're on the knee and Luz shows the Collector glyph magic, and the Collector says the same exact thing Amity said in convention to Luz when she showed her glyph magic. He also says that the Titan must have really liked Luz if he showed her it. This means that what Philip said in King's Tide is true. The Titan did not want to show him glyph magic, but Philip sadly still did. However, this moment is cut short when they realize Bellows is taking over the Titan. Alright, that's part 1 of my breakdown. Parts 2 and 3 will come out sometime in the future. I'll try to get these done as fast as I can. Anyways, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and always remember to stay safe, have fun, and watch cartoons. Bye!